Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a mystery that, well, it just keeps gripping the imagination. The enigma of the Zodiac Killer.
It really does.
We had a listener ask, if you could solve any unsolved crime, what would it be? And for us, the Zodiac, with those really chilling letters and the ciphers, it just jumped right out.
Oh, definitely. It's a case that has kind of burrowed its way into our collective consciousness, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That mix of just brutal violence, the cryptic communication, him talking directly to the public, and then just nothing. No definitive answer.
Yeah,
It's fascinating, but also, deeply disturbing.
absolutely. And to really try and get under the skin of this, we've gathered quite a bit of material.
Mhm.
There's a Reddit thread where people were talking about the unsolved crimes that haunt them most. Zodiac came up a lot, naturally.
But
We've also got the usual suspects, Wikipedia and People article, sort of laying out the timeline, the victims, the investigation, which has often been pretty frustrating, right?
yeah, very much so.
And then going a bit deeper, we looked at another Reddit discussion, this one about handwriting analysis, which is tricky.
Always tricky, yeah.
A blog post digging into the ciphers, and a forum post that really maps out the timeline of his known activity.
Okay.
So our goal here is basically to sift through all this, pull out the key details, explore the questions that still hang in the air, and just try to understand why this case still has such a hold on people.
This is good. So where do we start? The crimes themselves.
Yeah, let's ground ourselves in the grim reality first, the confirmed crimes.
Okay, so the timeline for the attacks that are, widely accepted as Zodiac's work, it spans about a year, late 68 to late 69.
Right, December 68 to October 69.
All in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Hmm.
And there are 4 distinct attacks that investigators pretty consistently link to him.
The first one, Lake Herman Road, December 68.
Yeah. 2 high school students, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. Just teenagers.
Shot, wasn't it? .22 caliber. It was a known lover's lane spot near Benicia. Horrific start.
Truly. Then, fast forward to the next summer, July 69, another attack, Blue Rock Springs Park.
Also a lover's lane type place, right? I'm really close to the first one.
Exactly, just a few miles away.
Mm-hmm.
This time, Darlene Farron and Michael McGough. They were shot with a 9mm.
And Darlene Ferrin died, but Michael McGough survived.
He did, and his description became, well, absolutely crucial.
What did he say? Can you remind us?
He described the attacker as a heavyset white man, maybe 5'8", around 195, 200 pounds. Said he had a large face, curly light brown hair, wearing dark clothes, and importantly, no glasses.
And the really chilling part, the phone call.
Ah, yes. Shortly after the attack, someone calls the Vallejo PD from a payphone.
And claims both shootings, Blue Rock Springs and Lake Herman Road.
Correct. He explicitly linked himself to both incidents in that call. That was the moment it became clear they were dealing with, potentially, the same person.
That's a huge development. Okay, so that connects the first two. What was next? September 69.
Yes, Lake Berryessa. And this one was different. A stabbing, not a shooting. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard.
This is the one with the costume, is
The
it?
infamous costume, yeah. He wore this black executioner-style hood with clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes.
So strange.
And a kind of bib on his chest with that white crosshair symbol, the symbol that became his signature.
And he just walked up to them.
Claimed he was an escaped convict, tied him up calmly, then attacked them with a knife. Brian Hartnell incredibly survived.
But Cecilia Shepard didn't make it.
Sadly, no. She died from her wounds. Hartnell's account, though, just harrowing.
And another phone call, right?
Yeah, from a payphone in downtown Napa this time, reporting a double murder at the lake.
Did they get anything from that scene? Or the phone?
They found the message. Vallejo 1220 687 469 2769 6.30 by knife, written on Hartnell's car door. And from the payphone, they lifted a wet palm print.
That never matched it.
Never matched to any known suspect.
Mm.
Another frustrating loose end.
Okay, so that's 3 attacks. The final confirmed one was October 69.
Correct. Presidio Heights, San Francisco. Paul Stein, a taxi driver, shot with a 9mm.
And this is where the shirt piece comes in.
Exactly. A piece of Stein's bloodied shirt was cut off and later mailed to the San Francisco Chronicle.
Along with another letter claiming responsibility. Just
Yeah.
brazen.
Incredibly brazen, sending physical evidence directly to the press. It was a huge escalation.
Were there witnesses for this one? It was in the city.
There were. Teenagers across the street saw someone, presumably the killer, wiping down the cab. And then there's the story of the patrol officers.
Oh, right. They actually saw someone matching the description nearby.
Briefly, yes. They encountered a man walking away from the scene just minutes later. But the initial radio dispatch had mistakenly described the suspect as black, so they let him go. It was only later they realized the description was wrong, and it might have been him.
Wow. Another near miss. Just incredible.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, those sliding doors moments.
So those are the 4 confirmed attacks, 5 deaths, 2 survivors. But he claimed more, didn't he?
Oh, many more. In a letter from 1974, he claimed a tally of 37 victims.
37.
37. But law enforcement has only ever definitively linked him to those 5 deaths and 2 survivors we discussed.
So the 37 likely just boasting, trying to seem more terrifying.
That's the general consensus, yeah. Probably inflating his numbers to sow more fear, enhance his own myth. But, it's impossible to be 100% certain. It's part of the whole murky picture.
And that kind of brings us to the other potential victims, the ones who aren't confirmed, but there are links.
Right, the suspected victims, like Chorizo Bates, murdered in Riverside back in '66.
That's quite a bit earlier. And down south, why the link?
Well, some similarities in letters sent later, a poem found near her body. It's circumstantial but intriguing. Plus, the Zodiac himself later wrote a letter mentioning his Riverside activity, though he didn't explicitly claim that murder.
Okay. Any others often mentioned?
There's the 1963 double murder of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara. The M.O., using pre-cut ropes, shared similarities with Lake Berryessa.
63, that's even earlier.
Very early, yeah. And then there's Kathleen Johns in 1970. She claims she and her baby were abducted briefly by a man whose car matched the description of one seen near a Zodiac crime scene. She later identified the police sketch of the Stein suspect as her abductor.
But again, none of these are confirmed Zodiac victims.
Absolutely not. It's crucial to stress that the links are speculative based on similarities or claims. It shows how the Zodiac shadow kind of stretched over other unsolved crimes of that era, though.
Understandable. Okay, let's shift gears to maybe the most defining feature of this case. The communication. The letters and ciphers.
Definitely defining. From '69 to '74, he sent a stream of letters and those 4 ciphers, mostly to the San Francisco Chronicle, but sometimes to other papers or directly to police.
Always starting with, "This is the Zodiac speaking."
Almost always. And signed with the crosshair symbol. That became his trademark.
And the letters themselves, they weren't just like simple confessions, they were weird.
Very weird. Lots of misspellings, grammatical errors, deliberate or not. People still debate that. And the tone was just taunting, like he was playing a game.
A very sick game. And then the ciphers were embedded in these letters.
Correct. 4 known ciphers. The first big one, the Z408 characters, arrived in 3 parts, sent to different newspapers in August '69.
And that one got solved pretty quickly, didn't it?
Relatively, yeah. A
It
schoolteacher couple, Donald and Betty Harden, cracked a good portion of it within days.
What did it say? Something chilling, I remember.
I like killing people because it is so much fun. It went on talking about slaves for the afterlife. Yeah. Chilling is the right word.
Slaves for the afterlife. Okay. And then there was a long gap before the next one was
Of
solved.
a very long gap. The next cipher, the Z340, sent in November '69, remained unsolved for 51 years.
51 years. Wow. Who finally cracked it?
An international team of amateur code breakers. David Oranjak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck. They announced it in December 2020.
Incredible dedication. And what did that one reveal? More of the same.
Pretty much. More ramblings about hoping the police were having fun trying to catch him, not being afraid of the gas chamber, because paradise and slaves await. Again, with the slaves. It confirmed the mindset seen in the first cipher. No name, no real clues to his identity, unfortunately.
Just more taunting and bizarre ideology. So that's 2 solved. But there were 4 total.
That's right. 2 remain unsolved. Z13, which is really short, just 13 characters, sent in 1970 with the tease "My Name Is," and Z32, sent around the same time, with 32 characters and a map.
And nobody's been able to crack those.
Not definitively. Their brevity, especially Z13, makes cryptographic analysis extremely difficult. There are tons of theories, potential solutions proposed, but nothing confirmed by authorities or widely accepted by cryptographers. The effort continues, though.
You have to wonder if the answer, maybe even his name, is sitting right there in Z13.
It's the tantalizing possibility, isn't it? Why else start it with, "My name is," unless that too was just part of the game.
Right. Now, tied into the letters is the handwriting. That's been a big focus, too.
Huge focus. But handwriting analysis as forensic evidence, it's complicated.
How so?
Well, as came up in one of those Reddit threads, it's generally seen as more probabilistic than definitive. It can be useful for excluding someone, but saying definitively this person wrote this, based only on handwriting, is often very challenging. Even FBI studies acknowledge its limitations.
So it's not like fingerprints.
Not nearly as conclusive, no. There's inherent subjectivity involved.
But there was that interesting point on Reddit that someone with prison experience had a gut feeling.
Yeah, that was interesting. They felt the handwriting on a police report from the Blue Rock Springs attack shared traits with the Zodiac's writing, a certain slant, kind of blueprint style, they called it.
Suggesting maybe a background in drafting or something?
That was their speculation, based purely on, like they said, a gut feeling from seeing lots of inmate handwriting.
But what was the counter argument?
Others pointed out that the writing on the report was almost certainly just the police officers, Officer Lynch, and comparing it to other parts of his known writing on the report seemed consistent.
So probably just the cop's handwriting.
Most likely, yes. It highlights how easy it is to see patterns, especially in a case this famous. But you need rigorous analysis, not just gut feelings.
Good point. Okay, so letters, ciphers, handwriting.
Yeah.
He also sent diagrams, right? A bomb threat.
He did. In November '69, a letter arrived with a diagram of what looked like a bomb and a threat to blow up a school bus.
A school bus. Terrifying.
Absolutely. Thankfully, nothing ever came of it, but it showed, again, his desire to create widespread panic and potentially cause mass casualties. It wasn't just about individual attacks.
Paints a really disturbing picture of his psychology. Okay, let's talk about the actual investigation. Who are they looking at? Is it still active?
It is still officially an open case, which is pretty remarkable after all this time. The FBI, SFPD, Vallejo PD, Napa County Sheriff, Solano County Sheriff, they all still classify it as open or active. SFPD did mark it inactive briefly in 2004, but reopened it by 2007.
So they haven't given up.
Seems not. And over the years, many names have surfaced, but there's really only one person ever officially named by authorities as a suspect.
Arthur Leigh Allen.
Arthur Leigh Allen. He died back in 1992, but he remains the most prominent person of interest for many, especially the amateur sleuth. Apparently not. His fingerprints didn't match the partial prints found. His DNA, later tested against saliva from the letter envelopes, wasn't a match, although the DNA source itself is debated. And handwriting analysis was inconclusive.
And didn't the FBI recently say something?
Yes. In 2023, the FBI reiterated that the killer's identity is still unknown. And a former lead investigator stated that the evidence against Allen was ultimately considered negative. So while he remains a popular suspect, the official case against him never really solidified.
Another dead end, essentially. Frustrating.
Very. And Allen is just one name. Countless other suspects and theories have emerged over the decades, discussed endlessly online, in books. The public fascination just keeps generating new possibilities.
Which feeds into the whole popular culture aspect, right? The Zodiac is everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere. Films like Dirty Harry were directly inspired by him. Then you have Fincher's Zodiac, which was incredibly detailed. Lots of TV shows have used Zodiac-like killers. Criminal Minds, American Horror Story, Millennium.
Even that weird movie from 1971, The Zodiac Killer, the one made while he was supposedly still active.
Yeah. That was a bizarre scheme, wasn't it? They apparently hoped the real killer might attend a screening, maybe fill out a comment card, and they could compare the handwriting.
Did it work?
No. Shockingly, that plan did not lead to his capture, but it just shows the level of notoriety he achieved almost instantly. He became this larger-than-life bogeyman.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Keeps the case in the public eye, but also muddies the waters with fiction.
Precisely. Separating fact from fiction becomes harder and harder as the myth grows.
So as we sort of wrap this up, what are the big questions still hanging out there? The ones that keep people hooked?
Well, the biggest one is probably, why did he stop? Assuming he did stop. The letters dried up after '74. The confirmed attacks ended in '69.
Any prevailing theories?
All sorts. Maybe he died. Maybe he was in prison for something else. Some psychological theories suggest maybe a condition like multiple personality disorder burned out. We just don't know.
And the unsolved ciphers, that's a huge lingering question.
Definitely. Will Z13 and Z32 ever be solved? Could they hold the key, maybe his name, or at least more insight into who he was? The Z340 solution proved it's possible, even after decades.
And what about modern science? DNA, genetic genealogy.
That's the other big hope, isn't it? Cases like the Golden State Killer were solved using genetic genealogy. Could that finally break the Zodiac case? If usable DNA exists from the envelopes or stamps,
yeah,
it's a possibility. Still a long shot, perhaps, given the age and potential contamination, but it's there.
So it's a case that just refuses to die.
It really does.
Okay, so to sum up our deep dive, The Zodiac Killer. Still one of America's most baffling, most chilling unsolved mysteries. You've got the brutal crimes, the taunting letters, the complex ciphers. It's a potent mix.
Decades of investigation, countless theories, intense public interest, yet the killer's identity remains elusive. It really holds a unique place in true crime history.
And this exploration really highlights, I think, the enduring power of these unsolved cases, doesn't it? And that relentless drive from both law enforcement and just regular people to find answers.
Absolutely. It shows the complexities of investigation, especially before modern forensics, and how the killer can manipulate the narrative through communication, building their own dark legend.
Right. So here's a final thought for you to mull over. We know the Zodiac put a lot of effort into his letters, his image, those ciphers. Two were solved, showing they weren't just random symbols. What if the key isn't necessarily finding a suspect first and then trying to make the evidence fit? What if it's about looking at the existing communication, the unsolved ciphers, the specific language in the letters with completely fresh eyes, maybe using new analytical tools, different cryptographic approaches, or even like advanced linguistic profiling? Could there be some small detail, some pattern in the known facts that's been overlooked, but holds the actual key to finally figuring out who the Zodiac was? What tiny thing might unlock it all? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.